Good afternoon and welcome to Cracking Crypto, where we break down the projects in the Web3 ecosystem that are changing how we view finance. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Now, before we get stuck in, let's take a quick look across those crypto markets, and it seems that the rally has broken. Crypto markets pulling back after that impressive multi-week rally that is characterized over the last few weeks. Bitcoin now sitting below that $21,000 mark with some slight uptick over the last hour or so, but not enough to make up for the losses of the last 24. Meanwhile, ETH and other major alts also seeing pullbacks and minor recoveries. Now, the narrative driving the market centers around news of coordinated international cryptocurrency enforcement action against crypto firm BitLato, whose founder was arrested and the business being labeled as a primary money laundering concern. The enforcement action was a coordinated effort across Europe and the US to seize many of BitLato's resources, including the firm's servers, as well as take the founder into custody. And elsewhere, institutional crypto brokerage Genesis Global Capital is preparing for a bankruptcy filing, according to reports. The move coming after the firm's lending unit halted customer withdrawals in the aftermath of FTX's failure. Bloomberg reported Genesis is in confidential negotiations with a number of creditor groups, with the company warning it could seek bankruptcy protection if it fails to raise capital. Further reports state that Genesis is in talks about a pre-packaged bankruptcy plan, which would allow the sides to come to a restructuring agreement prior to any filing, and that the deal would be then made final in a bankruptcy court. All right, taking a quick look at the chart of the day, and this here, a 1 year relative performance. If we look, we can see some of the major alts and Bitcoin itself, although the major rallies of the last couple of weeks still down massively if we were to look out over the last year's time frame. Just a reminder that there is still a long way to go if any of these are to reclaim all-time highs. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about NFTs, Web3, and the particular role that they can play in the sporting arena. Some see it as a natural pairing, and I am joined by three such gentlemen from Play Today: Clive Matthew, Mark Dries, and Michael Dries. Gentlemen, firstly, thanks so much for being with us.
Great to be here.
All right, so I'm gonna throw this open to the table and whoever wants to take it, but let's explain to our viewers a little bit about Play Today is, what hole it's filling, what niche it's filling, and how it all works.
Love the whole reference. So Play Today is a Web3 golf tech company. We actually are the Web3 golf tech company. And we've developed technology where we integrate the digital wallet into the actual physical playing of golf. So you do a round of golf, we use our GPS scoring system, and we actually give you a digital wallet. And inside the digital wallet, you have the capability then to issue NFTs for you to actually, when you play golf, to use the NFTs, win the NFTs if you like playing golf, and use them in our golf metaverse, which we've developed as well. Mm-hmm. So Play Today is Web3 golf.
Okay. All right, and in terms of a sort of demand, a need, a growth in this space, obviously NFTs, they've had a bit of a tricky run over the last few months, but there is a growing industry there. Can you tell us a little bit, and perhaps we'll start with you, Mark, about why you think this sort of niche needs to be filled and what it can do for the space?
Well, I think the space in general has needed products that actually bring the mainstream consumer into the Web3 space. Like, obviously there's a lot of negativity around the space and it's been sort of full of that speculative market. So what we're looking to do is actually develop a product that has a lot of utility and regular utility, not just in the speculative space, but in what people love to do in the golf world.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, to bring you into the conversation, would you say that the demand for such a product is coming from players themselves? Is this trying to entice new people into the game? How would you sort of say you're building towards that from a broad perspective?
Yeah, I guess the demand is coming from a variety of different areas. One of the things I guess to point out with Play Today is it's a platform for golfers, so it's not a golf game as such. So you need to be interested in the game of golf and playing the game of golf. What it does is essentially it gamifies that experience and enriches it. So in terms of demand, we're looking to grow, by word of mouth, essentially getting the message out through a variety of ways, but also through strategic partnerships with people that are already well established in the golfing industry, both in Australia and overseas, who can essentially bring hundreds of thousands of users to us. So yeah, it's that combination of growing through those larger offerings as well.
And I suppose interesting to note, you note in a lot of your marketing material, for players, by players. But I'd be interested to note, are the bigger organisations of golf sort of key to this development? Are we talking the PGA, Live Golf, these sort of things? Are they going to ultimately be coming in far as your vision isn't concerned, or is this really player-centric?
Player-centric. Digital wallets for the players, handicap systems for the players. Everything is about the player. So that's the whole thing of Web3. Decentralized technology takes it away and gives the ownership to the player. So we are, the whole thing with Web3 and technology like this is for the first time the player has ownership over the digital assets. So instead of the associations owning the assets, the players own the assets. And it's pretty changing everything. And golf is a representation of sport. It's happening, we're seeing in sport, in all forms of sport as well.
Would you see it as cutting out the middleman, I guess it was, between the player and the opportunity to work with, whether it be fans if they're at the big enough stage, or, if they're, not quite at that level, or trying to build a fan base? Is that how you envisage this sort of process?
Yeah, for sure. Golf's obviously a global game, and we're trying to break down those barriers between different countries having different systems, and we think there's a lot of opportunity both for the players. We're speaking to a lot of brands around how users might want to engage with those brands as well, and also professional golf as well.
And sort of, I guess, in terms of getting down to brass tacks here, what sort of adoption you've seen so far, what sort of interest you've seen, how would you characterise the reception that it's been to Play Today at this stage?
Yeah, so it's very early days. So the app is available on the iOS and Android store, but really it's been, I guess you'd call it the beta version. Officially, our big launch is we're the Metaverse broadcast partner of the New South Wales Open in March. And that's going to be a world's first event really of a way to broadcast sport. That really will be our big launch. So it's difficult, I guess, to sort of say, how successful adoption's been, but everyone that we're talking to from a variety of different areas in the golf sector are really receptive to it, and yeah, we're really positive about the prospects.
Now, obviously, actions like this, the sort of creation of an idea like this, doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is relevant to what's happening in the world around. NFTs, obviously, if we were to talk about 2021 through 2022, NFTs were a huge exploding space, perhaps growing a little too quickly, some would say. A lot of hype, a lot of projects that weren't delivering on what they promised in the wake of just excitement, and that's cooled considerably. Do you feel that that's impacting you? Are you here to sort of see past that? How do you sort of play when it comes to the wider Web3 market and sort of crypto blockchain market?
It just hasn't started yet. So we're talking about billions of people using digital wallets, and that just hasn't happened in that level. So it's very early in the whole Web3 blockchain crypto space. And we've been in this space of speculative NFTs as being the first phase of this. But it's not really what this is about. I mean, what this is about is the utility of having a digital wallet and a blockchain technology that together you produce digital assets which you own as a person. So the digital asset we're talking about is your history of golf. So every round of golf you play, you own in your own digital wallet that round of golf. And looking back in 10 years' time, you'll actually have access to everything you've done in golf. And that's just starting. And that's the excitement of being in Web3, that's exciting in blockchain. The speculative nature and short term of the initial NFTs, it just had to go, right? Because the utility of the next generation of NFTs, which companies like ourselves are producing, it's just pure tech. It's nothing to do with hype or speculation. It's using technology to fundamentally change ownership to digital ownership for the individual.
I'd be interested as well. I mean, in terms of background, I speak to people all the time from all walks of life, some that come from, a Web3 and sort of digital background, others that come from pragmatic, in-life backgrounds that want to bring the sort of Web3 technology into their area. What about you, gentlemen? What sort of brought you here today? How did you get into this Web3 space? Were you all programmers, I assume, coders, developers?
No, well, Mark and I have had for the last 8 years a digital emerging tech company where effectively we've produced products and platforms for other people. And that's been in the areas of mobile app development, augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, and through Mark meeting Clive actually on a golf course.
Fortuitous, you're playing true to the vision.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll obviously let Clive speak to his history in tech and tech investing.
Yeah, so Mark actually is a very good golfer. So it was the criteria, just a very good golfer. So I've just been a tech investor for the last 10 years. I've been in the tech industry for longer than that. I was one of the original employees of Netscape right at the beginning. So I'm just, I've been in tech for a long time. I've been watching Web3 from the outside. I haven't never made a Web3 investment before. And it was just striking to me what's happening in this whole space of digital ownership. And then literally these two guys have had a great successful services company, spoke to Mark about trying to make that a product company with a global opportunity. And then we rebranded from their previous company to Play Today. We've been developing our app for 6 to 9 months. We're just developing our metaverse, which launched in March. So I'm really the CEO and investor. And I've invested in a company that's been together and been successful for a few years. So it was actually a really very easy decision for me to invest.
Yeah. Well, passionate about the game, passionate about the tech. It seems like you guys have the whole bundle put there together. And I suppose we're starting to run out of time, but I would just love to know, something I always like to ask founders when they come here on the show, what's your ultimate vision here? If you were to sort of see the entire gamut of your vision play out for Play Today, where would you see it placed within the sort of golf and Web3 marketplace?
We want millions of users making the transition to digital ownership of their sports, whatever their sports are. So Play Today in golf is all about owning the rounds. We may even see that Play Today outside of golf is in other sectors in the sports space. But for me, it's millions of users taking digital ownership using Web3 technology. And we think we can do that in the next 3 to 5 years.
Gentlemen, you say that vision's aligned?
Yep. Clive said it pretty well, yes.
All right, well summed up. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us here today. Clive, Mark, and Michael, thanks so much for being on the show with Play Today. But for all those watching at home, that is the show for today, but plenty more still to come. The Trade with Kyle Rodder coming up next, so make sure you stay with us. In the meantime, I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.